Voilà. Tu vas me chier. Hi friends, you're welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much. This is your girl, Designed by Tola. Thank you guys so much for tapping in. Thank you so much for joining me right here on this live session. As you all know that I have set the reminders that by 6 p.m. I'm going to go live, all right, to show you guys how to cut and sew a white garment kissing pleated Sutana cap. All right, so here we are, here it is, and right here I'm going to be showing you and sharing with you how to cut and sew a white garment kissing pleated Sutana cap. All right guys, so it's very simple, it's very easy. I already have a video on this on my channel, but there was a request, and this request, started coming often and often for me to actually make a video, a live video, so that I can explain step by step, bit by bit, in every process on how to make this cap. And that is what I am doing today. All right, so thank God for making this possible. All thanks to God. I thank God for making us all alive today. I thank God for bringing you here as well to witness this. All right, we do not take that for granted. Now we are going to go on to make this video, and it's going to be a huge success. All right, it's going to be a very, very huge success. All right, so the main thing we're going to do here is to get our fabric, which is here, right here in front of me here. And the next thing to do is to get your cutting materials, like a pair of scissors. And then the next thing to do, we're getting our materials ready first. All right, then the next thing to do is to get your ruling and marking instruments. All right, like your curve rules, the tape measure, your chalk, and every other cutting instruments that you use to make your garment. All right, so as I said earlier, that this tutorial is a very simple one. All right, and I hope that you're going to get it. By God's grace, you're really going to enjoy this tutorial, and we all are going to have fun, and also we're going to learn huge here today. And please, I want you to, if you don't understand anything in the course of this tutorial, please give in your comments. All right, state it in your comments. If you don't understand any process or there's any step you do not understand, please let me know, because I am here to make you understand, and I am here to make you know this. All right, so guys, without wasting much time, without saying too much, let's move right into this live session. Now, what I'm going to be doing first is I am going to determine the circumference of my cap. All right, that is how wide I want the cap to be. So that is what you're going to be doing. So please, as you're joining in, please leave a comment so that we can know, and we can greet ourselves. Just leaving a comment. As you're joining, please leave a comment. Let's greet ourselves. Let's communicate. Let's make this fun. Let's engage. All right, so now the first thing we're going to do is, this is the material. This is our material here. All right, now I am going to be folding this like this. All right, first okay, so I'm going to be folding this like this, all right, into double folds. All right, I'm folding this first, which is what you're going to do. As I said earlier, you're going to determine the wideness of your cap. All right, so in case, it depends on how much volume you want. If you want it minimal, then you can go for 9-10 inches. But if you want it on a larger scale, excuse me, like if you want it wide, then you can increase it. All right, you can increase, you can use 11 inches, 12 inches, 13 inches as the circumference of your cap. So all this depends on you, on how wide you want this cap to be. So for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to be using 12 inches as the circumference of this cap. Okay, so which is what I'm going to be doing now. I am going to be folding my fabric. So I'm going to fold it like this. If I check it in here, show camera and phone with that. See what we should phone. Now I'm going to be measuring 12 inches. So you can see here is 12 inches because that is the circumference that I want for the cap. All right, so I'm just going to cut off the excess that I'm having. So here is my 12 inches. Now I'm going to be folding this over. All right, I'm going to be folding this over as well. So which means I'm going to be having 12 inches here as well. So as you can see here is 12 inches, here is 12 inches as well, and here is 12 inches. All right, so that is the first step you're going to ensure you do. All right, so let me explain again. Now this is the material here, and it's folded into two, as you can see. All right, it's folded into two, but the measurement I used for folding is because the circumference of my cap, that is the wideness of this cap, how wide I want the cap to be, I want the circumference to be 12 inches. All right, I hope you are getting my point. So that is why I am folding into double folds like this. All right, double folds of 12 inches, as you can see. Now I'm going to be folding this over again to make it into 4. So I'm going to fold over again like this. As you can see, this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so and in folding in this here, I'm going to make sure that this fold I have here is 12 inches as well. So it can be exactly 12 inches, it can be a little bit above 12 inches. All right, but what we actually need is 12 inches by 12 inches. All right, now I'm going to press this down with my iron. So after ironing that out, now what I'm going to do next is I am going to be measuring my 12 inches. So, and you know, this is the open space, all right, and here is the folded space. As you can see, here is the folded side. So from this tip here, from this folded tip here, I am going to be measuring my 12 inches, putting my tape measure right here on this tip. I'm going to measure down to 12 inches. Then I'm going to mark the 12 inches here. I'm going to do same here as well. Mark 12 inches. Here as well, 12 inches. So make sure your 12 inches is round like that. So after achieving your 12 inches all through like this, I'm going to be cutting this out. Then you have to cut here as well. So after cutting like this, please, another very important thing that you need to make sure to do is to notch. So you notch here, you notch here as well. Okay. Now the next thing you're going to do now is you're going to cut your interfacing to this cap. All right. So you have various types of interface. You have the wording, you have the sleeve, you have the stays. You know, a lot of, I think as a fashion designer, we all know what interface are. So the next thing now, that is if you want to give your cap that standing effect. But if you want it to be, you want it to be normal, then you might not need to put an interface. Or what you just need to do is to cut this, like double this up, so that at least it can be a little bit thick to give it that that thickness. But if you want a standing cap, then you're going to be adding an interface to this. Okay, you're going to be adding an interface to your cap. So the same way you cut this material, this piece, that is the same way you're going to cut your interface. All right. So that is the same way you're going to be cutting. The same way you cut this piece, that is the same way you're going to cut your interface. All right, the same process. And also make sure to notch just the same way I notched this. Now to make this particular cap, if we were making a normal cap like the one we were used to before, when we make it like this, is fine. You will just go ahead to cut out the interface. Then after that, we gum the interface to the cap, we cut out the band, we join them together. But because this particular cap is different because of the kissing pleating, that because of the kissing pleatings, that this particular cap has. So that is where we're going to be cutting this in a very different way. So what do I mean is that we're going to be making some extra notches on this cap. Now to do that, what you're just going to do is, you see this one side of the notch, you're going to fold it on to this other side of the notch like this. All right, this midpoint here, you're going to notch. Now you're going to repeat the same thing again. This point that you have notched, you're going to fold it over and make it, you're going to make it join with this notched area, this initial notching, and then you come to this midpoint and you're going to notch here as well. So sometimes these notches go on and some places might be left out, so you have to make sure that you notched so this is now when you open this up, so when you open this up here, you should have 5 notches. 1 2 3 4 5. Let me notch this well so that it can be very visible. Now turning it this way, you can see you have 5 notches as well. 1 2 3 4 5. Now when you open this up, this is how it should look like. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So now the next thing I'm going to do is, now you can see that the traces for the iron is really showing. You have this line, the lines the iron gave, this line, this line, this line, this line. So the lines the iron gave, you're going to give those lines mark. Those 4 lines given by the iron, you're going to just put a little mark on the lines. We're going to be needing this in future for future purposes. All right, so just give it a little mark like that. After you're done with this, then you just fold this and set it aside. Now we're going to be working on the band. I have gotten a lot of reviews on how I make my band, so I'm going to be explaining that in this video, how I make my band. A lot of people has called me or Design by Tolarh. They've messaged me, Design by Tolarh, we want you to do how you make that band. That we want you to teach us. We want you to show us how you make that band online. How you make that band. So you're making the band for your cap. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to be measuring the edge circumference. All right, you know, to make the main cap, all right, the pleatings for the cap, you don't need the head circumference. All you just need to do is to determine by yourself how wide you want the cap to be. But to cut out the band, you have to measure the round edge circumference. And as you all know that in white garments, when we put on our cap, is required to cover at least a portion of our ears. Okay, so that is why when you are measuring the edge circumference of your cap, make sure you include your ears. All right, so like when you measure the edge circumference like this, make sure that you include the ears. Make sure the ears are included when measuring the edge circumference. So that is how you can really get your perfect measurement so that it won't be too tight. I've gotten some people, you know, messaged me that So people message me that the band, they keep having some mistakes while making their band. That sometimes the band tends to be very tight at the end of the day. Some will say, a lot of questions for me. So that is why I'm taking my time to explain this, that those mistakes might arise when you measure only the head circumference, leaving out the ears. And you forget that even the ears also is going to take up some allowance from the band. So that is why when you're measuring yourself or you're measuring your client, make sure that when you're measuring the head circumference, you include the part, at least the upper part of the ears. So you're going to measure, together with the upper part of the individuals here. All right, so now I'll measure this head circumference. Now let's assume that this mannequins is our client. Okay, we are making the cap for this mannequins. You can see that the head circumference of this mannequins is 24, so which means that this band, I'm going to be cutting 24 inches for this band. Now when you're cutting 24 inches for this band, you know that we cannot cut out only 24 inches straight, because we're going to be putting the sewing allowance, and also we're going to be adding the freeness allowance. Why? Because the cap is going to be having an elastic band, and you all know that when you're cutting a particular material, they're going to be fixing in an elastic band. The material has to be in excess. For example, maybe you want to fix an elastic band to your pants. Maybe you're making pants or trousers, whatever you guys call it, and we're going to be putting an elastic band at the waist. You know that your waist measurement, you're going to be adding some extra allowance to it. So the same thing applies to the cap. Since you're going to be adding an elastic band to the cap, that is why we must put in little amount of ease on the cap. So if you do not put an allowance for ease, you find out that when you're done making the cap, it becomes too tight for the individual. So especially when you're making for a small child, maybe for a small girl child, it has to be very free. Okay, you don't want anything cutting their heads or making them very uncomfortable. So for girl child, since there's going to be an elastic band, holding it in place, so you can put in enough allowance for, you can put in enough allowance for the freeness. So now I am going to be cutting out the band. I'm going to be using this material here to cut out the band. So we've already measured our band, and what we got so for our band we got 25 inches for the band. Okay, for the rounded circumference we got 25 inches. Now I'm going to be folding my material into double folds like this, and I'm going to be ironing this out. So here it is. Then the first thing I'm going to do is, since the head circumference is 24 inches, so whenever I am making this band, I always like to, whenever I'm making this band, I always like to use a pen or a pencil to mark. Generally, when I'm making outfits, I like using pencils to make my markings. Why? Because all this chalk, when you give your markings, it tends to alterate your original measurement because of the thickness and the wideness of the chalk. So if, let's say for example now I want to measure 5 inches, and I use a chalk, you can see that it's already wide enough. But when I use a pencil to mark my 5 inches, you can see the difference. This is 5 inches here, and this is the 5 inches for the chalk. So for the pencil, it's more accurate. So whenever I'm making outfits, I love using pencils. Or you have marking instruments that you can use. So I'll advise you start using, for those of you that still use chalk to mark your fabric, I'll advise you start using marking instruments. And if you don't have, you can use a pencil. So far, you make the marking so faint so that it doesn't really show on the outfit. Okay, so moving on, I am going to measure, so 24 inches for the edge circumference of our mannequins. Now I'm going to divide that into two, and that gives me 12 inches, as you can see here. So I'm going to mark my 12 inches right here. I'm going to mark my 12 inches right here. All right, I don't use biro to mark, or I use pencil. I'm just trying to use a biro so that you guys can see what I'm doing. So now we're going to be putting in some ease allowance. So for our ease allowance, I'm going to be adding 1 inch. And because this, and why I'm adding 1 inch is because this here is for an elderly person. All right, if it's for a younger child, I would prefer to use like 1.5 or 2 inches for especially small children, like below 6. They don't always want anything tight on them. So I'm going to be adding like 2 inches extra for the freeness. It's better for it to be so it's better for it to have enough space than for it to be tight. But for an adult, you can as well adjust it by yourself if you want to. So if this is for a little child, I'm going to be adding 2 inches or 1.5 as the ease. But because this is for an adult, I'm going to be adding 1 inch as the ease allowance. I'm going to mark it. Then the sewing allowance, which is 1 inch here, I'm going to mark it as well. Okay, now I'm going to repeat my measurement here as well. So in total, I have 14 inches in total, because 12 here plus 1 plus 1, that gives me 14. So I'm going to mark the same 14 inches here as well, and I'm going to make this into a straight line. Now I'm going to be cutting this out. So for the wideness, we're going to determine the wideness of the cap. Now that is how wide you want the band to be. So people always prefer the wideness of their band to be 2.5. Some always wanted 3. It depends on preference. Some always want it even 4. I've seen someone that actually used 5 inches as the wideness of the band. All right. And I've seen someone use 2 inches. I've seen someone use 1.5 inch. Though if it's for a little girl child, 1 inch at most, 2 is okay. But for an adult, you can use 2.5, you can use 3. So for this tutorial, I am going to be using maybe 2.5 or 3, whichever one goes fine. All right. But let me give you one of my technique. So one thing I do is, if you're attending a white garment church, and for your church maybe you use veil, like what people call ibori. So I will advise that your cap should be like 3 inches for the band, all right, so that when you're making your veil or your ibori, it can be 2.5 inches. You understand? So the cap is 3 inches band, and then the veil is 2.5 inches. That is the wideness, all right. For the band of the veil is 2.5 inches, while the wideness for the band of the cap is 3 inches. Why? Because that's why after you've put on your cap and you put on your veil on it, at least there's still going to be like an ½ inch space between the band of the cap and the band of the veil. All right. So because when both of them are on the same spots together, it tends to be a little bit puffy. I hope you get what I'm trying to say. But if you're not using a veil, that your church, you just use only cap alone, you can use between 2.5 inches and 3 inches. Okay, so for this tutorial, let's make use of 2.5 inches, and which means that we're going to be cutting a total length of 6 inches. All right, so starting from this point now, I'm going to measure down 6 inches. I'm going to give it a mark. Same as well here, I'm going to measure 6 inches, give it a mark. Same thing applies here. I'm going to measure 6 inches, give it a mark. But if you want your cap to be 3 inches, then it means that for this wideness, you're going to be cutting out 7 inches. All right, so I hope you get the gist. So the extra 1 inch you are adding will be for the sewing allowance. So you see that I said the band of my cap is going to be 2.5 inches, but I measured out 6 inches. All right, so which means that 2.5, that is 5 inches. So the extra 1 inch that made it 6 will be for my sewing allowance. Now I'm going to connect this mark I have. I'm going to do the same here as well. And then I'm going to be cutting this out. So this is it. Okay, now I'm going to be folding this into double folds. I'm going to iron this out. So you can see here it is. We have ironed this out. Now what you're going to do is fold this into two like this, fold it into double folds like this, and notch the midpoint. Very, very important. Just notch the midpoint. Okay, so after notching the midpoint, this is what you should have. Now we're going over to stitching the sides. Now I'm going to fold over like this, and now one thing I do is here so here at the midpoint, here at this midpoint, I am going to come in by 1 inch. Okay, so you can see that it's still remaining. We still have 13 inches left. So the circumference of our cap is 12 inches, then the 1 inch seam allowance. Okay, now here for the edge here, now we are going to be coming in by 1.5 inches. Here at this edge, I'm going to come in by 1.5 inches, and here as well I'm going to come in by 1.5 inches. Then I'm going to be connecting these 2 points to form a line. So the main gist here is whatever allowance you come in by at the top here must be the same allowance you come in by at the bottom. Like both of them must be equal. Okay, so the only one that can be left out is this one at the middle, because this is where is this is what is occupying the edge circumference. I hope you understand what I'm trying to explain. So I'm going to be connecting this together like this here. Then same goes here as well. I'm going to connect this here as well. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be going on to my sewing machine, and I'm going to stitch down from this point down to this point, and I'm going to stitch down from this point down to this point. I hope you guys understand. All right, I'm going to stitch down from this point down to this point, and then stitch down from this point down to this point. So, and then another important thing is we're going to be notching so to do that, the midpoint here, bring it here on this mark you have, and then notch the midpoints that you have here. Notch the midpoints. You're going to do the same thing here as well. Place it on this line and then notch the midpoints. So while you're doing this, you can see that we have some notches here. We have this, we have this, we have this. All right, remember the notches we made on the cap. So I'm going to be explaining this to you. Let me stitch this down. So guys, so here it is. I have gone ahead to stitch it down. As you can see, I've gone ahead to stitch it down. Now the next thing I'm going to do, now since you've stitched this down, you can as well just trim out the excess you have on both sides, just to make this equal. So you can just trim out the excess on both sides like this. So after you've trimmed out the excess, just like this, remember to iron. I love ironing. I love ironing intermittently. It makes my work, neater. So after ironing this, I'll just turn it out this way. So when you turn it out like this, so I'm going to be ironing this again as well. Okay, so here it is, guys. See, it's beautiful. Now measuring this, I have 3 inches. So I'm going to be putting in ½ inch as a sewing allowance. I'm still going to have my 2.5 inches back. Now since this is done, the next thing, you just put your band aside. I'm going to be folding this into 4. I'm going to be folding this into our initial fold. Now this is a very, very important aspect. The way we're going to now is the very important aspect. We're going to be pleating this now. All right, so I'm going to be doing this with my paints. Alright, so I'm going to be doing this with my paints, and what am I going to do is, I need you to pay close attention. Now we're going to start folding, and you can start anywhere. So I'm starting from this notch. Now I am going to fold in like this, okay, as you can see. So you can just use your safety pin or thread and needle to secure this, whichever way you feel is best for you. And I'm going to be explaining like this to you, but you can as well even make this straight up on your sewing machine. All right, and you can as well use this method. So I'm going to be pleating this now. Then I'm going to go on to the next pleat. You can see now this pleat is too big, so which means I'm going to be cutting this off, and I'm going to be reducing the pleat. Okay, so here is what we have. So I'm going to be stitching this in. So I'm doing this for your sake so that you can get what I'm trying to explain. Okay, so for you, you might as well just use office pins, or you might as well even do this straight on your sewing machines. All right, after doing that, then the next, we're going on to the next notch, and it's going to move like this. Okay, so you're going to make sure that this fold here stays under this notch. I hope you understand what I'm trying to explain. So I'm going to be holding this down like this as well. Okay, so that's in place. Now I'm moving on to the next point, which is from here down to here. All right, I'm going to be folding again. So you can see that this is actually going underneath. All right, so I'm going to be stitching this down. You can see now I'm moving on to this other side, and this is going to lay right here like this, and you can see this pleat here is going to be underneath this notch. Okay, now we are moving on to the next notch. So that is how you're going to continue pleating this. All right, I'm just trying to show you this as an example. All right, I'm still going to go over to my sewing machine to stitch this. Now we're moving on to from this notch down to this notch, and you're going to pick it once again. So you see it's going to go underneath like this. All right, now we're moving on to the next. So we go on and on and on like that. So the next, from this point to this point, So guys, I think I've explained to you enough, and you can see how it goes. So let me just iron this out to show you how it's going to be. So you can see that, so you can see the kissing pleating effect. Okay, so by the time you're done stitching everything all through, you're going to see how beautiful this is going to really turn out to be. Right, so we're going to move ahead now to our sewing machine. We're going to be stitching this together. Okay. Oh. So we're going to be completing this right here on a table. So we're done pleating the cap, as you can see, and we are done with the band as well. I'm just going to iron this out so that you guys can see how beautiful this is. So guys, let me rush through to iron this out. Oh, you can see our cap is looking beautiful and so lovely, guys. So let me iron this out. We're going to be ironing this out together. We're going to be ironing this out together. All right, and we're going to be picking from one pleat to the next. Okay, we're going to be picking this one by one. So here you have to exercise, you have to be careful while doing this, because this particular aspect needs a whole lot of patience so that you can get the whole pleatings. So you see, that you're going to need to iron this one after the other. You're going to need to iron it step by step. That is how we can get out all the pleats. So guys, you can see how beautiful this is. Now the next thing to do is to attach the band to this piece. Okay, you're going to be attaching the band together, and don't worry, we're going to be doing this together as well. I'm going to show you how to go about it. Now I'm going to, so I told you to like those 4 points that I told you to mark. So this is where we are going to be needing them. This is one here, this is another one here, this is the third one here, this is the third one, and then this is the fourth one. Okay, so now what you're going to be doing with this 4, or let me use my pen so that you guys can see this very well. So this is the first line here, this is the second line here, this is the third line here, and this is the fourth line here, guys. So what we're going to be doing with this line says, these lines 1 2 3 4 must correlate with these 4 notches we have here. 1 2 3 and 4. Okay, so that is how we're going to be doing it. And you know, this is our band. So now to attach the band, what we're going to do is place your band. All right, you can start from anywhere. You can actually start from anywhere. So you're going to place the band like this. All right, so it's going to go like this. I hope you see what I did there. This is the band. So you can, I stated earlier that you can place this anyhow. All right, it doesn't have to follow a particular protocol. You understand? So just do you. So you're going to pick one like this, put it underneath. I hope you really see what I did there. So you're just going to stitch round. Okay, no pleatings form, nothing. So we're just going to go over to our sewing machine and we're going to pleat it round like this. Okay, just round like that, all through. Very simple. Please, if you do not understand this, please, you can give your comments. If you do not understand what I'm doing, so that I can just redo it again, please. If any of you do not understand, please, can I get comments before I proceed to make the next step? So if you guys do, if I have anyone that does not understand, please let me know so that I can recap what I have just explained here. Okay, so I'm moving right to the sewing machine to stitch this. It's just a straight stitch with half of an inch all round like that. So I'm just going to stitch this now. With a straight stitch, half of an inch. So you must make sure that while stitching like this, you must make sure that the notch on the band, all right, is on the same. As you can see, this is the mark. I hope you can see it. This is the mark I have on the cap, and this is the notch I have on the band. So you can see both of them are on the same level. So you must always watch out for that. So you can see this mark here and this line on the band. You can see they are facing each other. They are at the same. So that you must make sure. My thread is finished. So sorry, I didn't know the thread. You know, that is one of the, you will know the thread has finished sometimes from the bobbin. You're just making your stitches. Okay, so this is what we have. As you can see, this is what we have. All right, now the next thing to do, which is like the final step, is for, we're going to be turning this over. Okay, so let's try to knit up. This material is really the is really coming off. All right, so just open it up this way. Open the band up, as you can see. I hope you can see. I hope you guys can see. So I'm going to be folding on like this. All right, I'm going to be folding like with half of, I hope you guys can see what I'm doing, with half of an inch. I'm going to be folding on it. So you can start anywhere, as I always say. It doesn't mean that maybe you have to start from the front, or sometimes you can as well even start from the front if that is what you want, so that to give your cap that, you know, perfect finishing that you deserve. So you can see now that, like I explained earlier, that if you go through this process, it's going to avoid your band having pleats. All right, even me myself, I do not like having pleats on my band. I do not like it at all. You know, I detest my band having pleats. So to avoid that, if you go through this process that I explained to you, you see that your band is not going to have any pleat at all. So you can see that the joint side of the band is pointing on, all right, one of the mark, and you can see that the same thing is going on here as well. So you can see it's equal. This is the mark. I told you that was why I said earlier that you have to mark those 4 cardinal points. You're going to be needing them. Very important. A lot of people don't put their mind to it, but it's very important. So it helps you to eradicate, you know, stitching and losing back again and making mistakes. All right, it helps you to eradicate that and makes your work very easy and neat. So you can see that the second notch on the band is resting on the marked point, you can see, and then that is for the second one. You can see this is the third one. You can see them facing each other, the notch on the band and the marked line on the cap. You can see they are very equal, and then coming back again, you can see here and here. So from this, you know that you are good to go. So we're going to be folding in half of an inch, and we're going to be stitching down all through. So we're going to keep on. So as you can see what I'm doing, so I hope you guys are seeing what I'm doing. So you can see, beautiful, guys. Wow. I can. Oh, I wish I can put this on for you to see now, but you can't really see me right now because I've not put my elastic band in it. But you guys, you can see how beautiful this is. Look, we're not done with this cap here, but you can see. Wow, I love this. You can see it's giving classic vibe. All right, so the last step now, we are done with our cap. The last step now is to fixing the elastic band. Once we are done with that, we are good to go. So I'm going to be fixing the elastic band to the cap. So let me bring in the elastic band. Okay, Mary Usifo, the cap circumference is 12 inches, ma. I used 12 inches for the cap circumference. That is what I used. Thank you so much for that question. The cap circumference is 12 inches. So let me quickly get the elastic band and let's complete this. So now I've gotten, sorry for the delay. So I've gotten the elastic band, and there's a 1-inch elastic band. This is it. And then the elastic band, I'm going to be using 4 inches. All right. I'm going to be using 4 inches for the elastic band. And here is it, 4 inches. This is for an adult. 4 inches is fine for an adult. Okay, so if this were to be for a little child, okay, it's not going to be up to 4 inches. But for an adult, 4 inches is okay. So just cut out the 4 inches. Cut it out like that. Then I want you to pay attention to the placement of this elastic band. Then you're going to fold in. Can you see the way I folded? You're going to do the same thing here as well. You're going to fold in like this. All right, so just fold in like that and stitch on your sewing machine. So here also I'm going to fold in. Okay, so you can see now what you're going to do is you are going to, you see that the band, there is no pleat whatsoever on the band, as you can see. it's giving beauty, beauty, beauty. All right, so now what you're going to do is, you can see this is the joining of the band, which definitely is going to be at the back. Now you're going to place one side on the band like this. Okay, so as you can see, this side is going to be on this joint part like this. Okay, now this other side will be here. So you're going to stitch down on this side with your sewing machine. Okay, so after doing that, then this side that you have stitched down, you're going to place it on this center, the joint center. Okay, place it on it like this. Then this other side, make sure it comes right here. Okay, so you can see, then you're going to stretch. Have you seen it? You're going to stretch like this. So while sewing on your while stitching down, you're going to make sure to stretch the elastic band. So that is what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm going to stretch it this way, and then I'm going to stitch. So guys, wow, this has been a very interesting, I can't lie, like fun, interesting and educative live session. All right, so guys, we are done with this. So let's place it on our mannequins, because we used the 8 circumference of our mannequins to make the band. So this is the head of the mannequins, and I'm going to be putting this on the mannequins. Wow, so you see, you see how beautiful and perfectly fit it is. So let's take it to the table so we can see this well. Wow, guys, wow, this is beautiful. Besties, this is absolutely beautiful. So guys, we are done with the making of this beautiful and lovely white garment casing pleated Sutana cap. I love it, as in honestly, like sincerely. Guys, I love the outcome. You can see how beautiful this is looking. Even on the mannequins, you can see how beautiful and how perfectly fits this is looking. So imagine this is on an individual. All right, you can't just want to assume how beautiful this is going to be. So guys, thank you so much for joining you know joining on this live session. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys a lot. To everyone that joined me on this live session, thank you. To those of you that are just going to come to watch it later, thank you so much. Mwah. Please do not forget, and please always support your girl. This is Designed by Tolarh. Always support your girl, please. I'm doing all this for you guys. So the only way you guys can help me in return is to support me. And how you can support me is by liking my video, by subscribing to my channel if you're yet to subscribe, by sharing my channel on all your platforms. All right, to get my channel to wider audience, and for you to always continue to watch and rewatch and rewatch and rewatch all my videos, guys, and helping me to spread my channel, spreading the message. I really appreciate you guys a lot. So you can see this is the outcome of our cap. This is what we made. So guys, this is the end of the tutorial. This is the end of the tutorial. I love it. I love the outcome. You can see how it perfectly fits our mannequins, because we used the head circumference of these mannequins to make the cap, and you can see how it perfectly fits the mannequins. It's not too tight, it's not too loose. You can see it's not dropping off, and it's not too tight. All right, that people complain that their band always gets too tight. All right, and I've explained that in this video, how to add the ease allowance to the band of your cap. Guys, honestly, I'm so much in love with this cap. I love it so much. Let me know what you feel about this tutorial in the comment section, and when you recreate yours, please do not forget to tag me and show me your recreation. Also, do not forget to share this video. Thank you so much. I am yours sincerely, Designed by Tolarh. God bless every one of us. Till I come your way once again, please do have a great day. You can see this is the elastic band at the back. You can see these are all the pleats, and this is how it's looking, guys. So till I come your way again, please have a great day, and bye. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much. For everyone that's going to come back to watch, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. For everyone that watched with me, that joined me on this live, thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.